Y'all doing this morning? What's up? Video gonna be about Eric Monte versus Norman Lear, and the video's resurfacing again, but a lot of people are gonna fall on deaf ears. Um, we had a dear family friend of mine, uh, who was like an uncle to me, who worked out in Hollywood. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, he hit me to the whole game because he was script writing. He saw all the behind the scenes, and he worked on the set of Good Times and the Jeffersons. When black shows were like few and far in between, and it was like about a handful. Well, most of the same writers and people were associated with it. Well, I had learned about Eric Monte back in the day. Of course, I watched the classic movie Cooley High, and of course, What's Happening. And I found out the original Lionel Jefferson, Mike Evans, was a co-writer who also was on the early episodes of All in the Family. And then they had his role as Lionel Jefferson, the Jefferson son on the Jeffersons, etc. And had his hands on a lot of different projects. But I also found out how racist, trash like Norman Lear is, and all of them were, because they took black ideas, stole them, and get rewarded with being some kind of geniuses or gurus when it was the black creators who created the shows. And Eric Monte, who did have drug issues and other issues, got whiteballed on Hollywood Plantation. He created those shows. When you see the Norman Lears or Aaron Spellings or Sal Tortobo and um, there's a few others, Donald Meyer, some of those guys, some of those older white cats, Gary Marshall. I mention them because that was a good old boys club. And there was no black writers getting the compensation. There wasn't the situations where they were being compensated properly, but they were creating multi-million-dollar shows. When you think about it, the success of a Good Times, those shows were big, but they wanted to sell it as a white dude. They wanted to sell it. They did it on purpose because that's the Hollywood Plantation. And if you get a chance to watch the Eric Monte interview where he calls Norman Lear racist, which he is, he's trash just like the rest of them. And I can say that boldly and strongly because there has not been a balance to acknowledge the wrongs of that time to now, really. TV still sucks. I mean, you got to go to cable and you get some shows in here and there, but you still see discrimination. You still see it openly. Ask yourself, what's the difference between what Eric Monte went through in the 70s and what Monique just got through selling with Netflix and everything else in between? And you remember how whitewashed it was in the 80s with certain TV shows, you know? And Bill Cosby spun a few things and they, were funny time with all that. They still are. Because Hollywood was just another racist plantation extension of what you see every day in America with three Ks. And I enjoyed the Eric Monte interview. I wish he and Mike Evans had been better compensated. Mike Evans passed away sadly about 20 years ago and was involved in a lot of projects. A lot. More than you can imagine with what they tell you because they don't want you to know black creativity to its full extent. They whitewash everything, just like they do in the history books. So when they have an issue with critical race theory, what do you think they do in Hollywood theory? Mm-hmm. Please hit like, subscribe, welcome thoughts and comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. And if you get a chance, type in Eric Monte versus Norman Lear. It's the real. And they didn't compensate that man nearly half of what they should have gave him. I'm out.